So, guys, welcome in. We have a new face, a new person in on Down the Local, covering a new league for us. For today, we are going to get a roundup from Steve on the Eredivisie. And Steve then will be helping us keep a look on that next season. But welcome in, Steve. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me.
You are most welcome. So, Eredivisie this season, how's it been? From a UK point of view, everyone knows the big three. Sorry. So,
yeah,
how have they fared this season?
So the big three. I'm just putting it out there. I'm a massive Ajax fan, but I will be too biased. So just putting that out there. But the big three, obviously, we had Ajax clinching the league in quite comfortable towards the end. PSV ending second. Feyenoord currently playing in the playoffs to make it into the Europa League. So their season has been more up and down. And the legend that is Dick Advocaat is obviously now also leaving at the end of the season. So that's been confirmed, which I think is better for the club and trying to bring youngsters through because that's never been his forte.
No.
But general, a strong season for Ajax. I think they won the league with 4 games to go. And PSV are kind of never really, after Christmas, then they kind of lost steam. Made it interesting for us, for probably till about February, March time. But then they started losing a few more games, and finally, so every time Ajax and PSV played each other, Ajax managed to get a draw out of them. So even though PSV were winning, and in the first game of the season, PSV were leading 1-0 right until kind of the 90th odd minute, and then in injury time, Ajax managed to pull an equaliser, and I think that's been key to this. And even the second time around, PSV were leading 2-0. Ajax managed to come back 2-0, which has been a massive difference, not losing to PSV. But the big three, as always, dominated, so to speak, apart from Feyenoord. Feyenoord had a very up and down season. They were good towards the beginning of the season, dropped off midway through, and then somehow managed to get themselves in kind of a playoff position. So that, again, made a difference.
So is that playoff against Vitesse, who finished 4th?
It will be, yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm guessing then, is it? Do we have Ajax go straight into the Champions League, PSV go in via qualification?
Yes.
And then Alkmaar get an automatic place in the Europa League?
Yes. Yeah.
So does the loser of the final Vitesse get a place in the Europa Conference League?
No, that's what they're playing for, the Europa Conference League.
Oh, right. Okay, so they're playing each other for that. They don't even get into Europa. Okay.
No, it's quite harsh because obviously in the last probably decade, the Dutch have not been that. They didn't qualify obviously for the Euros, didn't qualify for the World Cup either. So they've lost their UEFA kind of rights for automatic qualification, and so only the top goes straight into the Champions League now. Yeah. Second have to go through the qualifying stages, and then Alkmaar goes straight into the Europa League, and obviously the fourth then have to play. For the kind of they don't get that spot. They have to go through the kind of the rounds before again the qualifying stages to actually get themselves in there.
Yeah, okay.
But it's only because the Dutch football has not been where it once was.
No, there was that 1-2 outstanding seasons for Ajax, but then obviously they had the wholesale player departures and things like that happening over the last couple of years. So, and we always see Ajax have those massive seasons. And then gradually over a year, 2 years, their players get picked off. And then it takes another year, 2 years for them to bring through the next batch almost, don't they? So,
this year has been a strong season for them. So they've obviously lost, I think, the massive gaps is obviously De Jong going to Barcelona and De Ligt going to Juventus. That has left holes that you don't get those players very often. It's every couple of years. Not even probably every once a decade, you get those kind of caliber players.
Yeah.
The players that Ajax normally get are like the Van der Beeks and stuff. They will either make it or they won't. And obviously, we all know how it's going with Van der Beek at the moment. He's not quite there. He's not at the level that he needs to be to play for Man United.
Yeah.
But you don't. De Jong left a massive gap in midfield, and De Ligt left an even bigger gap in defence.
Yeah.
And the coach Ten Hag has been tampering with the back four, so to speak, to kind of get the right mix.
Yeah.
But then we lost Blind as well, obviously through injury. So and I know Blind was okay in the Premier League with Manu, but he's what was needed for Ajax. He's someone that's experienced, someone that came through the club, someone that can lead kind of the youngsters around. When he was a solid rock, and he could defend in midfield. So him going as again, we missed that experience. But we're bringing some youngsters through. We've got Rens coming through, Timber coming through. That they're all good, strong defenders. And obviously one of them's been Timber's is in the final 24 selection of the Dutch squad as well.
Okay. Yeah, Rens is very good. He's a fullback, yeah? Right back?
Yeah, fullback,
yeah. He looks very
good. But he can
good.
play anyway. He gets plunked in midfield as well. Depends where the gaps are. But obviously we've got Martinez and stuff as well. We've got the Argentinians, haven't we? That have also been stepping up and needed. So Alvarez, the Mexican, has been strong again. But we finished the season incredibly strong. Disappointed that we blew it against Roma. We should have, if we scored and put away the chances that we had, we would have been much better. Finishing. But again, we have beaten Man United. That's no question. I think on a day we could beat anyone, but we've not. That run we had in the Champions League in 2019 season, that was because of the caliber that we had with De Jong and with Ziyech as well. And De Ligt and those players going, it leaves massive gaps, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. I mean, you said at the start not being biased. I mean, you can afford to be biased. For those of you who don't know, Ajax won the league, 34 games. They won 28 of them. They only lost 2. They scored 102 goals and only conceded 23. I mean, a 79 goal difference is the thing of Sunday league football. That's absolutely ridiculous. Their defense was 15 better than, 12, 13 better than anyone else. And their forward line was more than 25 better than anyone else. I mean, that is a domination. And I mean, they didn't let up either. Some teams win the title and they start to ease up towards the end and bring in the youngsters. Well, Ajax run on youngsters, so they can't bring in the youngsters. They're already using them, but they were still winning. They won their last 5 games in a row. They were still winning games. They weren't fazed by it at all. So, I mean, that's a massive thing.
Yeah, and we won the Dutch Cup as well, didn't we? So we did do the double. We briefly tested in the final. It wasn't the most entertaining game to watch, but we did more than enough. And I think that's been the difference this year of Ajax. Because last season we either won, in fact, in style, or we lost in style. But this season we've seemed to win those games where we went on top form in the Dutch league. So that's made the real difference, and obviously that breeds confidence as well. But PSV have been good as well. They started strong. They then dropped off, but towards the end, again, they finished stronger. And they've got some good young talent in there as well. Obviously, Marlon being one of them that Ajax are constantly being linked to. But I don't think that anyone will ever go from PSV straight to Ajax. I think they'll have to go in a roundabout way somehow. And the same with Bergwijn, who's obviously now at Spurs. There's massive links with him coming to Ajax, but again, he would have never come straight from PSV to Ajax because it's just it's unheard of. Yeah,
it's not the done thing, is it?
No,
it's just not allowed.
No. And even AZ has been solid all year round, but I don't know how they would fare if they went into. I don't know how they would do in the Europa League, if I'm honest with you. I think they've got an okay squad, but how they would do on the Euro, like the Euro stage, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's bizarre though that they only finished a point behind PSV and they lost. So essentially, one draw would have got them there. They lost a game that PSV won in the last 5. Otherwise, their records were the same. And I mean, that would have been tight. How does it work in Holland? Is it done on goal difference or is it done on head to head like in some other leagues for positioning?
No, goal difference first, and if the goal difference is the same, then it's head to head. So then it'll be
So PSV would have won that unless depending on how much Alkmaar got beat in that game. PSV would have done it just on the goal difference, but it would have made it a nice tight ending. So we sort of touched on Vitesse finishing 4th and Feyenoord finishing 5th. Both of those two, 6.7 points clear of 6th place Utrecht. So I suppose your top five there, top three are by far and away the best three this season, and then the next two are still heads and shoulders above the ones below.
Yeah. I think what you have to realise in the Eredivisie is that it's, if you compare it to the Premier League as an example, the Dutch league will have Premier League in there. They will have the same standard as the Championship in there. They'll have the same standard even as League One in there. Right. And that's always been the case. Hence, there's obviously talk about the Dutch league joining the Belgium league to make it a little bit stronger. So the Benelux league.
Yes, I've heard about that. Yes.
Yeah, that seems to be going in the right direction, but obviously that all needs to go through UEFA, and with the Super League causing a stall, I think that's probably put on the back burner a little bit.
Yeah,
it seems to be potentially happening, and again, it will just make that league a little bit stronger. So you'll just expand the kind of the teams that could play in the Premier League. Like I think Ajax, even PSV, even AZ could probably be competitive.
Yeah.
But adding the kind of the competitive ones from the Belgium league will just make it a little bit stronger.
Yeah.
And so that's obviously been discussed, and the discussion seems to be moving into the kind of the final stages. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they work it out and decide who's going where. Because I mean, obviously, if you just done the top 9 teams from each division, then that would mean based on this season, Twente miss out, and obviously they've been up and around the top end for a number of years. Obviously not a great season this year. And he also sort of teams like Heerenveen, who have had some very good seasons over the last sort of decade, but have dropped out. So, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how the Dutch FA decide who would join it, or the Dutch and Belgians, whether it would be done on their financial income, that sort of thing. It would definitely be an interesting decision-making process.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and I think, like you said, like both Twente and Heerenveen have suffered this year because they've sold in over the last couple of seasons. They've sold too many of their players and not really replaced them. And where they have replaced, they've replaced them with older generation of players that potentially played there before, played in the Dutch league before, that can't do it week in, week out.
Yeah.
And again, this year, the amount of games, the same as in the English league, the games have been rapid. So they've been one after another. And if it's not been the Dutch league, it's been in the Cup. If it's not been the Cup, it's been for some of the teams have been in the Europa League, and the same as in the Champions League. It's been a rapid amount of games.
Yeah.
And I think Heerenveen and Twente have sold, but not really replaced like for like, or even with youngsters.
Yeah.
And
it's going to have
really
an impact.
From it.
Yeah, it's definitely going to have an impact. I think also, I mean, looking down, obviously, after Utrecht, we have Groningen, who have, I think, at the start of the season, were slightly buoyed by the return of the prodigal son, Arjen Robben, who, unsurprisingly, spent a big chunk of the season injured.
Shocker.
Yeah. But when he played, did well. And there was actually one point they were talking about maybe him getting back into the Dutch squad for the Euros, weren't there? But I mean, it was never going to happen. But it was being rumoured. And he came back and he pulled out a Darren Anderton and got himself fit just in time for the Euros, but not picked.
No, but I think that's a fair result, though. As a Dutchman, I love Robben, and I think what he's done for football, for the Dutch squad, and for Groningen, and for even Bayern, he's been an amazing player. Always plagued with injury. We always knew that, and that was kind of his seat. That was his time at Chelsea, wasn't it?
Yeah,
one good season, the rest injured. But not right for the Dutch squad. But again, I mean, the rumours are that he will stay at Groningen, potentially play again next season, but that he'll be coaching there at some point, which I think that's where it started for him. And really, that's where he first really made it as a professional footballer. Yeah. Before he went to the dizzy heights that he went to. But for the Dutch squad, no, not strong enough anymore. And it will take away potentially the place of a youngster, won't it? That might not play, but if they do get a chance, might shine. So and that's what Dutch football's always been about. It's about bringing the youth through. Yeah,
definitely.
And having that balance right of having the experienced players in there, but majority of the squad, again, if you look at the selection, it's youngsters. It's again youngsters, and that's what we need to do, because we haven't got the Van Persies, we haven't got the Robbins, we haven't got those. They're all gone.
Yeah.
So it's looking for that new breed, and let's be honest, the people like Depay and stuff, that they're talented, no doubt, but they're not on the same level as Robin or Van Persie or
No.
Snyder. Even they're not there. Whether it's ego, which might be with Depay, you never know. But they're just not there. They're just not at that level. And I don't, hand on heart, apart from an odd couple, we haven't got that level anymore.
No, but I think there is definitely, you may not have that level, but there seems to be more of a team ethos now, which there didn't always used to be, because there were so many egos and things like that within amongst the squad. I mean, if Holland went to a tournament and there wasn't reports of infighting, then you thought, oh, they might do all right this year, and then the following day there'd be a fight. So
that definitely is the Dutch squad of the 90s, isn't it? And the early noughties, and with the Davids and the
Seedorf always was up for a bit of a scrap, and they all had issues with each other, and Kluivert, and none of them wanted to back down. And as you say, that the ego and the arrogance was there, and it was just, in the end, it was just a shame that they never really quite delivered.
But to be honest, that is the mentality of the Dutch, though. It's in the DNA. It's they know they're good at what they do, and unfortunately they lose the ethos of working together as a team when the egos kick. But I think, again, when you go back to the Eredivisie, that's what Ajax have got down to a T, is that there's a team, and also the structure behind them now with Overmars and with Van der Sar and the coach, that it's right, and there's no infighting, and that's the difference. I think that's the difference between like the likes of PSV and the likes of Feyenoord. It hasn't always worked with Dick Advocaat, and there's been long rumoured if he should go, if he should stay. The same with PSV. There's been unrest there. It does make a difference, and it makes a difference in those crucial games where you're not playing well, that you can just about manage. And we've got talent coming through. Gravenberg obviously is phenomenally young talented individual, only 19, but had a phenomenal season. Luckily for us, he said he's staying for another season because he needs to mature at Ajax, so that's only positive. But again, the youngsters are coming through, like Timber that we all discussed, but that's not just down. That's even, like A said, they've got Owen Wijndal, who's a good talented youngster, who's been selected for the Dutch squad as well. There's enough. That always the same case. There's enough young talent in the Eredivisie. It just comes down to who's around them at that time and who's managing them at that time.
Yeah. Cool. So moving down, obviously we've got sort of the glut of teams in mid-table that never looked like they were going to challenge, but look as though they were relatively safe. So we've got Sparta, Hercules. Well, how do you say that? Hercules, in between the two. Twente, Fortuna Sittard, Heerenveen, and Pek Zwolle of Jaap Stam fame. And he binned them off very quickly. Went to Feyenoord, got binned off very quickly. Bottom of the table, though, very, very tight. So in Holland, we have the bottom two being Den Haag and then Venlo, both well adrift. 22 points for Den Haag and 23 points for Venlo. But then it's very tight because it's a playoff place, isn't it? Again, in Holland. So Willem, RKC and MN, 1 point separating the three of them. And RKC done their best to try and get dragged into it by the look of it. Looking at the form over the last 5 games, Emmen and Willem both had some good results.
RKC were lucky where they finished, and the fact that they're not going into the playoffs. But like you said, it came down to goal difference. It literally is. There's 6 goals between the two in the end, but they did their best to end their season as worst possible. But they kind of escaped with Emmen obviously doing the playoffs now. But I think when I said about the Eredivisie, this is League One standard,
right? Okay,
that really is. So I'm surprised about Den Haag because they have got a rich history. ADO Den Haag, they're normally mid-table, but they've obviously had a terrible season. obviously they'll play in the first leagues. But yeah, there is the standard difference between kind of the top and the bottom is very clear. Although it doesn't mean that they can't beat the kind of the top three, because the pitches are a lot worse.
Right.
And obviously not always the bigger boys are not always used to playing on those kind of type of pitches.
Yeah,
it's the same as getting Kane playing on the 5-side pitches and then seeing if he'll shine the same way.
Yeah.
In the tipping down rain, in the cold, in the north of the country, he might have an off day, and it does happen.
Yeah, on a sloping pitch.
Yeah, on a sloping pitch. Yeah, but it does happen, and then they can be the bigger boys. But the difference between the kind of the top and the bottom of the Eredivisie has always been massive. Surprised by Edo that they are more mid-table club. But obviously they've had a tough season.
Yeah,
they paid the price for it, haven't they? So
yeah, I mean, it looks as though they've struggled at both ends. I mean, they've not scored many goals. I think they're the lowest scorers in the league, and they are the second worst defensively.
Venlo being worse.
Yeah, 91 goals conceded, but at least they scored 43. I mean, it's not 43 is nowhere near enough to keep them up if you conceded 91, but but it's definitely
they've had some defensive issues.
Yeah, they've shipped one or two.
Yeah, they definitely have. Yeah.
Cool. So, guys, that's the roundup on the Eredivisie. We will be back with Steve in a very short while to have a little roundup on the players that are floating around. See you on the other side. So, guys, we are back to have a look at the star performers that have been showing themselves to be the top guys in Eredivisie this season. And I'll be honest, some of them are a surprise when you look at the goals scored and things like that. Based on what we've just seen with
which
the league
ones are a
table,
surprise to you? Huh?
Georgis Giacomoukis with 26 goals for Venlo, who finished second bottom.
Mm-hmm. Doesn't always mean anything.
They scored a lot of goals. He scored a lot of their goals. He scored more than 50% of their goals. But we know that they shipped a lot. But yeah, so he's top goal scorer on 26, 7 clear of next. We mentioned him briefly previously with PSV, Donnell Marlin, very good youngster. 19 years old, 20 maybe now.
I think it might be 20 now. Yeah, it was 22 even. So older than anticipated.
Oh, okay. But a lot of people sort of showing interest in him as well. Not just in Holland, but across sort of Europe. I know there's been rumorings of him going to other clubs. Personally, development. I know we sort of said Ajax are interested. Development wise, best off going to Ajax. I mean, obviously, as an Ajax fan, you'll say yes, but
I think I would love to see him at Ajax because he would add value to what the squad that we've got, definitely. And I think he's now at a stage where he doesn't need to move on.
Yeah,
I don't think he's been really loyal to PSV, and he's scored some amazing hat tricks. And when he's been in form and not injured, and this season he's had a lot of injuries to contend with this season, unfortunately. Okay. So he's not been as dominant as he has been in the previous seasons. But I think it's time for him, if taking my bias out of the way, it's time for him to move. I would love to see him at Ajax, but at the same time, if he went to the German league, I think that again would be a good step development. Yeah. I think as a player he would struggle in the English league. I think he would follow in the same footsteps as Depay and just struggle because it's so much more physical, and I think he would struggle. But I could see him playing in the German league. Like I said, I would love to see him playing with Ajax, but again, it's very quiet around him because he's not had the best season. It's been a season of a lot of injuries. So not whereas the season before that he was one of the better players in the Dutch league where he scored some phenomenal goals. But again, the Euros, I think, will be a good platform for him to shine if he's going to take that opportunity to shine, if he gets a chance to play. He's obviously been selected, so it'll be interesting to watch that one. But not the best season. But I think his time at if I was him, his time at PSV he's done. He's been loyal. I said, he's older than we both thought because he's been on the scene for a while now. But I think at 22, he's been loyal to PSV. They've been loyal to him as well, to be fair. It's not the best season because of injuries, but I think the Euros will be a good opportunity for him to shine if he gets his chance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's time. Honestly, I think it's time for him to move on.
Yeah, I think it's good as well that, I mean, I didn't realise he'd had the injuries this season. So, I mean, it's not been his best season, but he's had injuries, but he's still managed to pick up 19 goals, which is then a decent return if you're sort of in and out of the team with injuries. If you have one longer term injury, then you can understand someone getting the goals. But when you're in and out on a regular basis, it's harder to keep picking up and putting down. But it should be interesting to see him in the Euros then. Stephen,
whether he'll get a chance or not is a whole different question. I think that's the thing, isn't it? But he's in the squad. He's obviously in the final 26 even. Sorry, but he's there. I think it. But either Ajax or the
Germany.
I think that's a good logical step because it's the German league's very similar to the Dutch league. I think the English league he will struggle, the Italian league he will struggle, the Spanish league he will struggle. It's all too physical, really. And it's that too much of a step up. So we'll see. One to watch, I think, at the Euros, definitely. And I like him. I think he's talented.
Yeah.
I think he's definitely, like you said, he's been in and out, still scores goals, and he's just naturally gifted. But it's what does he need to do as a player to kind of take himself to the next step? And I don't think he can do that at PSV at the moment because it's just not enough competition at PSV. There's, if it goes to Ajax as an example, there's more competition at Ajax. He wouldn't be guaranteed a starting place.
Yeah, he has
every
to
single
week. Every week. Yeah. Okay. Next, we've got on 19 goals as well. Steven Berghuis, Feyenoord. Yeah. Another player who his name's been around for a little while, but I always thought he was a winger, but chipped in with the goals this season. For
I think naturally he can play on the wings as well, but he's a forward.
Is he in the Dutch squad?
Yeah, I believe he's been selected in the Dutch squad. He's been selected in the Dutch squad. I don't know. It's my honest opinion on him. I think he's talented, but I don't think I can't say I can't see him making it to the next stage.
Right. Okay.
As a player, and I might be upsetting some Dutch fans and some Feyenoord fans, but I honestly don't think he'll. I don't think he'll be able to make it to the next stage. Obviously, he's not got the players around him in the final squad at the moment, so he's not been fed for him to score the goals. He's still scored goals.
Yeah.
But again, I've never really, especially lately in the qualifying and stuff, I've never really seen him shine in the Dutch squad. So against Turkey, as an example, he was quiet. He just when it matters, when we need these players to step up. He's one of the players that I can't see. I've never seen him step up. And the same with Feyenoord. In games where he's really been needed, he's been almost a ghost on the pitch. So
okay.
I can't see him making the next step, but I could be wrong.
Okay.
I probably would have said the same about Van Dijk many years ago when he was hovering around with the Groningen and then not really making it. And he obviously he was linked with Ajax, but they didn't want him at the time. They refused. They declined him. So and he obviously shone later in life, didn't he? And look at him now. It's I can't at this moment in time. I just can't see him making the next stage. I can't see him going to the next step.
Not enough about him to progress where he needs to progress. Yeah. Okay.
But he's talented. Don't get me wrong. He's definitely talented. He's gifted. I couldn't do what he does. no way. He's definitely talented. But you know, like when you look at kind of the Messis and you look at, I don't know, different strikers that you just will never make it to me. It's mentality as well, isn't it? It's that mentality and that complete drive. I think that's the bit that he hasn't got. I don't know, but I could be wrong. But I just don't know how he's going to make the next stage. Be interested to see if he probably will get picked for the Dutch squad because he has been in friendlies and qualifying, but he's never, he hasn't scored any amazing goals. So when I've watched Holland play, he's never really been someone I would say has been outstanding on the pitch. And the same for games I've seen in the Eredivisie with Feyenoord. He's never been outstanding. But you never know. Might within a better team, so to speak, or having better players around him, or having a mentor in his life that kind of it can obviously propel people to the next stage. So you never know.
Yeah,
and he's still young enough to kind of go to the next stage, so to speak.
Yeah, so this could be a summer for him then. So number 4, Danilo of Twente with 17 goals. And then bizarrely as well, we've got number 5 is Ravelot of Hercules. I've got that wrong already. We only done it a few minutes ago. Hercules. I mean, it's written in front of me. I should be able to read it. I mean, that's it sounds how it's written. That's how bad my pronunciation is of that one. Hercules. 16 goals for Ravelot. Both teams sort of mid-table and below. So decent returns for those guys. Interestingly, no one in there from Alkmaar or Ajax.
Well, the top goals, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't always mean anything in the Dutch league.
No, it doesn't. But when Ajax have scored 102 goals, you would have expected one person to get beyond 16.
It's just because they've got again when you've kind of already hit the hammer on the nail. They're good individuals, and that's why they've got the goals. But the reason why those teams are mid-table because the team is. They're not a team.
Yeah.
So they've had both of them had decent seasons, but that doesn't mean that they're amazing players. Without being disrespectful to those players, because the thing is in the Dutch league, because Dutch football has always been a total football. That there's defense has always been questionable with the Dutch. But the thing what made them strong is because they could always score more than they conceded, and they've had some amazing defenders as well. But all those defenders are attacking minded. So even if you look at like Ajax and the PSV, look at the people that scored the goals, there's a lot of defenders that scored goals because they're attacking. They've always had the same mindset of attacking play, which when you go with kind of the mid-table clubs and kind of the lower table clubs, they can attack, they can score, but they can't. The defending stops. Which is why they've conceded 91 goals.
That makes sense.
When you play against mid-table clubs and you play against the Ajax and the PSVs and the bigger clubs, so to speak, in these sets, they'll punish you. They absolutely will punish you because what they do, and that's total football. Whenever as an example, whenever the defender goes forward, the midfielder will fall back into the position to cover. Yeah. That's how it works. It's a rotating squad. So whenever it goes up, one of the defensive midfield will drop back and will defend. And that's how it will go. But in the mid-tables and the lower league, it doesn't happen. So people will still attack, but they won't drop back because they just don't have... they either haven't got that oversight or that's what's missing. That's why they concede so many goals. But
every man for himself.
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
And the fact that these two players you've mentioned have not been linked with any of the kind of the bigger clubs kind of sums it up. Yeah.
I mean, I've never even heard of them. So, I mean, I've heard of it. Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to the assists then. So we now get to see someone from Ajax, Dusan Tadic, in with 17 assists over the course of the season, kind of picking up a bit more of a different role now as well. He's playing a little bit deeper again, isn't he? He's not playing as the out-and-out centre forward that he was for a little while.
No, we've had obviously the gap of the younger midfield and missing Blind. Yeah. He has had to play a role where he's been more defensive instead of being on the wings. Plus, we've got some very good wingers now. We've got obviously the Danilo. We've got enough talent there. We've got Neres there as well, and they're not being played. There's a whole rotation is happening at the moment to make sure that these guys are getting they're happy and they're being played, and obviously that they're not being penalised for not playing. Yeah. But I think Tadic has just taken the role of being the leader of the team now. He's obviously the captain. He can play in multiple, apart from defence, he can play in multiple positions, and he works really well with the coach. he completely sees the bigger picture. So whilst he's not being on the score sheet as much as he has been in his first season when he came over, the assist is still there, and he's been crucial for Ajax. Absolutely crucial. Again, when you're talking about poor games when you needed a win, he's stepped up and either scored a penalty or he's done the assist, and that's what makes the difference.
When he was in England, I thought a very underrated player. I thought he was fantastic when he was at Southampton. And it was a shock for everyone when Ajax went and not spent 20 million on him, but when Ajax went and spent 20 million was a shock. On a guy who was sort of mid to late 20s at that point. It was kind of not the done thing normally, but
what a buy! What an absolute buy! I mean,
he's been an absolute legend for him.
Yeah, and he loves Ajax, doesn't he? Because he was linked to Barcelona as well at one point. And then, like you said, in England, very much an underrated player, but a bit like Wijnaldum, I guess, having the Dutch theme. Liverpool, very unrated player at Liverpool. I think they did an analysis on him, and then it was just quite clear the amount of he might not have the most assists, or he might not have the most goals, or he might not, etc., etc. But where he's been in games, Liverpool have won. And I think a bit like Tadic, very similar. But he's definitely been our captain, and he's been there and he's there for the youngsters, so he's developing the youngsters alongside him as well. But we've got so much flair on the wings at the moment. We've got so many players with flair that I think that Ten Hag has realised that they need playtime, and that he has to rotate the squad. It has to be done. If it doesn't happen, then it penalises.
Yeah, you're stunting the growth of the others, aren't you? So Steven Berghuis, even though we sort of said not likely to progress, he is quite clearly Feyenoord star man, 13 assists. So he's got an overall 32 goal contributions to Feyenoord's cause this season. And you'd probably look at that and say, well, actually, Feyenoord are lucky to have him because they finished fifth. It wasn't a great season, and he's been a massive part of actually helping them get to where they are.
Feyenoord, absolutely.
Next up, we then hit the list of players I've never heard of. Mike Tresor Ndai Yashimio of Willem.
Again, players that
Willem 2.
Yeah. I think, to be honest, players that are not really on my radar either, not living in Holland. I know of them, but I think stats are a funny thing, aren't they? If you look at Arsenal as an example, the amount of possession that Arsenal have had and lost games, it doesn't always mean anything.
No, that's true.
And where they finish as well. And I think because the Dutch league more, I know it's a lot weaker than obviously than some of the kind of the bigger clubs, all the bigger countries in like the English league, like the Italian league, the Spanish league. The Dutch league is a lot weaker, but they do play attacking football, and that's all they're ever playing. And with attacking football, obviously you get the assists, you get the goals, but you don't always get the whole team, and you don't get the points on the board to kind of progress. And they'll go out, and then that's a prime example of all the clubs that were in the Europa League this year. They'll go out, they'll attack, but they won't progress because they'll leave themselves open.
Defending is an afterthought. Cool. Okay, so I'll just quickly skip through as well. We got Joey Veerman of Heerenveen. We've got Jesper Karlsson of Alkmaar, and then Usama Tanane of Vitesse, all on 9 assists. Veerman's got 10 assists. But as we sort of say, it is all out attack, so you expect to see decent numbers from there. It is the same people picking those sorts of things up as well. Interestingly, in the red cards, 4 players with red cards, 4 players with 2 red cards. Sorry. Ajax have had Edison Alvarez sent off twice this season. It's obviously not hindered them when he has been sent off. So the red cards,
Alvarez has got a temper on him, which is not a bad thing for a defender / midfielder. Depends where he's being played. He had a poor start to the season, really poor, and rarely got into the team. But obviously proved his worth, and again was crucial towards the end for us. But he's a player that has got. He's still quite young. He's a youngster, Also been with us for joined us in 2019, I believe. So he's been with us for a couple of seasons now. Constantly being linked with other clubs again and again being linked now. But he has got a temper on him, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Van Bommel had a temper on him, so did Davids. So it's not.
Yeah.
It's sometimes you need to have someone that's kind of that pit bull in midfield. And Alvarez has played in midfield a lot this season as well, so he's not been constantly in the back four. He's played in midfield more. And you need that pit bull sometimes in midfield, especially again in the Dutch league where you've got players of flair that will just come running at you. Sometimes when your defence ain't there anymore because they've gone forward, you need that player that will put his leg out and will take one for the team to stop the flow and stop the goals going in.
Yeah, and I think he's Mexican as well, isn't he? So I think there's a number of Mexico have produced a number of players like that over the years, where they endless amounts of flair players going forward, but they've always had a few in there who will happily do a whack job.
Yeah, and I think it's needed. I think when you get to a certain stage, it's definitely needed. And if Ajax want to be, obviously we're back in the Champions League, we need those players. We can't just have a team of people that'll just go forward. And not do the kind of like I said, not do what Davids used to be so good at. Do that role of actually being that pit bull and controlling the midfield and stopping the other opposition coming at you when you've gone forward and attacked. And that was the prime example of Ajax style in the semi-finals against Spurs. We just attacked. Why not? Most teams would have sat on the ball literally and
just maintain
allowed
possession.
The clock to tick down, and they would have gone through. But no, Ajax style, they kept attacking. But again, it's the inexperience, it's youth, and even with but most teams would have sat on the ball, and rightfully so at that stage. And I think Alvarez definitely brings that to Ajax. He brings that control in midfield, and he'll stop Ajax from being reckless, so to speak.
Cool. That's good. It's good to have players like that within the team. So go on. Sorry.
Yeah, go on.
No, go for it. You carry on. I was
going to say, if you take the stats out of it, I think Owen Wijndal from AZ has been had a very good, strong season. He's obviously a defender, so again, he won't have the stats of passes or goals, but he's been solid for AZ. And I think one of the reasons why they did finish where they did in third place, and rightfully so, he's been called up for the Dutch squad as well. So intrigued to see what he does, because I think for the Dutch squad, with no Van Dijk, obviously not coming along, and I think there might be Jurgen Klopp influence on the ball, because Frank always said all the way along that if he's fit enough, he'll play. But obviously, all of a sudden, there's a U-turn bit on. But better potentially for the play, and better obviously for the club as well. But I think there's a massive opportunity for some of these Dutch youngsters to shine, to take that place. Obviously, you'll have De Ligt as the more experienced one. But it would have been as a Dutchman, it would have been absolutely amazing to see De Ligt and actually Van Dijk clicking and having a competition alongside each other. I think that would have been such a good pairing. But hopefully next kind of in the next World Cup again, we didn't start well against Turkey, so God knows if we'll qualify out of that group. But yeah, it would have been good. But we've got. But Wijndal, I think, definitely shown had a very good, strong season in the Dutch league. Again, Marlon again, even when he wasn't, if he wasn't crooked, he would have had a stronger season. But when he did play, he was strong. And I think, Haller had a good season for Ajax.
When he went over from West Ham.
Yeah. West Ham, and again, someone that can be lazy at times. I think that was always his problem at West Ham. He can walk around when it's not going his way, but he's strong, crucial goals again. And a good addition again. Ajax is obviously spending the money. God knows why they made that little boo-boo and didn't select them for to play in Europe. But that's something that can't. Sometimes you think, how on earth can someone make the mistake? But the mistake was made. I think youngsters as well. Brian Brobby had a very exciting youngster. Very gutted to see him going out of the Dutch league. Obviously, but again, there's rumours that he might come back to Ajax. Ajax might be able to keep him for another year anyway. So there is rumours there. But again, a good youngster, good prospect. We'll see how he does. If he does go to the German league, we'll see how he does. And again, you've had Timber, you've had Anthony. There's a couple of. I think Robin had a good season overall anyway with Groningen. But again, spent most of the time on the bench. And then you've got Mohammed at Hartern.
Yes,
that plays a PB. That's again had a strong season. He's a good player. He's actually, but I think anyone that's been outstanding for me again goes back to who won the league. I think Ajax have been the strongest, the rightful winners this season. I'm not just saying that because I'm an Ajax fan. Last season, we were lucky to finish in pole position because AZ would have overtaken us because we were having a tough second season and we were in the best club or best team at that point. But this season, I think we've definitely warranted where we've finished.
Yeah,
and I mean, when you talk about outstanding players or good players, the majority of them are in the Ajax squad because they've had some fantastic seasons. Fantastic season.
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at the goals scored, the number of games won against games played, the goals conceded, the points difference at the end of it, there is no question that you could argue for anyone else to win the title this season. Ajax have been by far and away the best team. Guys, that has given you a full roundup on what's happened in Eredivisie this season. We will be back with Steve at some point in the near future when we're going to get his take. He's touched on it a little bit here, but we're going to get his take on the Dutch squad and expectations, and if there are any expectations for the Euros. But for now, though, Steve,
it's good to be back.
Yeah. Well, nice to just qualify. We're pleased to be here.
Well, we didn't qualify for the World Cup or the Euros, so we've not been in the last two major competitions. So it's nice to be back.
Yeah, cool. Bringing that shade of orange back in. That shade of orange. Steve, it's been a pleasure to have you on. We will catch you very soon.
Thank you. Likewise.
Cheers.
Speak to you. Bye.
Bye.